You might be thinking that this is something DreamWorks does now, but with that you would actually be wrong. If we go back to October 2nd, 1998, we can see that DreamWorks just released their first film named Dance. And I think we can all collectively agree that this film is mid at best. But then 2 months and 16 days later, on December 18th, DreamWorks would release one of the most well-received films named The Prince of Egypt. Fast forward 1,979 days later, DreamWorks would release one of their highest grossing films ever, Shrek 2. Everyone liked it. But then 4 months later, they released Shark Tale. I think you're starting to see it, right? The reason everyone started thinking that DreamWorks was back in 2022 with The Bad Guys in April and Puss in Boots in December was because they were actually being consistently good, but this level of greatness was uncommon for DreamWorks. The numbers in the box office were great, and numbers in the ratings were great too, but then the next year in July, they released Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken. And if you know, you know. Later that year, they released Trolls Band Together in November, which was ever so slightly okay, better than whatever we got earlier that year. And then DreamWorks actually started decently in early February of this year with Orion and the Dark. I actually had really high hopes for the film. The idea was cool, but the middle of the film completely ruined it. And I thought it deserved a review on my other channel, but I thought again, nobody spoke about this film when it came out, so who will care if I make a review now? Anyways, exactly a month later in March, DreamWorks released The Ideal Nightmare, which I still haven't completely recovered from since the events. I watched half of the film a few days after its release, and I was too terrified of watching the rest that I had to watch the other half 3 months later, knowing that I would instantly regret it. 7 days after this, DreamWorks did a sequel to a movie trilogy named Kung Fu Panda. I'm sure you've at least heard of it. And it actually got really bad reception from the audience. I even considered it worse than The Ideal Nightmare, but now I realize how I was exaggerating quite a lot. Nonetheless, this movie feels like an insult compared to the first three. And now, The Wild Robots. This movie is just arts. I mean it literally by the way that it looks like a portrait, some landscape, narrowed down to that pretty art style. I never read the book, and I'm currently reading it right now. And it's quite similar. This is a good adaptation in my opinion. It's a good book and a good movie. I don't want to give too much to the people that haven't watched the movie, but what I am going to say is that this movie is worth your money. It's worth all of your money. For me, if anyone were to ask me this or The Last Wish, I would clearly say myself, right now at least, I would choose The Wild Robot. Its distinct style of handling this art style really well, it's just amazing how they do it. I feel like the animators need a higher paycheck, to be honest. I mean, come on, this literally proves how DreamWorks goes from like the best thing to, I'm not even kidding, the worst thing. I mean, imagine going from a masterpiece that was Puss in Boots: The Last Wish to then going to Megamind and the Doom Syndicate to then going to The Wild Robot. And I remember when everyone used to say that DreamWorks was back with Puss in Boots: The Last Wish and The Bad Guys. And to be completely honest, I was with them as well. Except I finally kind of started realizing I was wrong when Trolls Band Together released, where I kind of thought, hey, they released Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken, to then this. After that, when Megamind the Doom Syndicate kind of released, I kind of learned something. DreamWorks is kind of experimenting. They're experimenting with what's good for their company, and they're also experimenting what's bad in their company. And once they figure out what's the perfect thing for that company, which I believe they've already found but haven't noticed yet, I believe that they will start consistently doing that one thing. But you might be thinking, wow, Puss in Boots: Last Wish already had a really good story, a really good plot, a really good animation, and I also agree. But the reason DreamWorks weren't convinced is because they probably expected a bit more in the box office. Because I know 400 million is very uncommon for DreamWorks, but at the same time, if any of their animated movies with this very distinct art style gets to 1 billion or more, I actually think DreamWorks is gonna stop making a whole load. Which brings me to my next point. That's the reason I made this video. The reason I made this video in the first place was because I wanted more people to realize how good the Wild Robot is. I do not know if this video is gonna blow up or anything, but if you do end up getting to this part of the video, congratulations, and please subscribe. But look, go watch the movie. Go watch it. Come on now. Go. The movie only has 100 million in the box office. I watched it 3 times in the cinemas, and I'm gonna watch it another 2 times in the cinemas. Shoo, go, bye. See you later. Come on.